Hello, my name is Mark Snavely, and this is my presentation for Labor Relations Business 343. I have chosen case number 2, consideration of seniority and ability. Let's go to our first slide. My role in this position as a human resource manager, I have been chosen to interview and promote a first shift team leader. There has only been a team leader for second and third shift, but employees have come together and stated that they want a team leader for first shift. They've also made out a list of qualifications they want in a team leader, as well as a human resource manager has made a list of qualifications they want in a team leader, and they pretty much match up with each other. And so a post was put up, and there was only 2 applicants. So we'll look at those, as well as how we're going to handle a union grievance that was filed because of this job posting. So let's go on to our next slide. So we have 2 applicants we talked about. We have first class Robert Elder, hire date of March of 1987, and second class Mary Younger, hire date of July 1991. Okay, so we have 2 class machinists in this company. First class has more skill and ability than a second class machinist. However, Mrs. Younger possesses those skills and abilities, but there isn't another job role for a first class machinist in the building. So it's not that she doesn't possess those abilities, there's just not another opening for a first class machinist. So they were both interviewed for the job, and Mrs. Younger was chosen over Mr. Elder because of her interpersonal skills, her leadership qualities, and that she's more approachable than Mr. Elder. So he filed a grievance, and we're going to have to develop a case for our decision. So let's go on to our next slide. My position on the issues. Seniority. So as our book talks about, seniority plays a big part on bid roles. This is an interview position. Not that seniority doesn't play a part on interview positions, because it can. However, this is an interview position, and more qualifications come into play. And we're not talking about 2 employees, they're very spread apart seniority-wise. We're talking about 2 employees that have over 25 years of service, both first class, possess the abilities to be a first class machinist. So if Mr. Elder got the position of line leader, he would be ineffective and potentially unhappy in the role, according to an article by Benjamin Arts and Okar-Kaya. Workers mismatched for their job report a lower job satisfaction. So Mr. Elder could possibly be unsatisfied in the role of team leader. And from the way I feel in the reading the case, there's a 93% difference between a first class machinist and a second class machinist. There's a 43% raise for a team leader position. And reading in between the lines in the case, I kind of feel that Mr. Elder is after the 43 cents more an hour than just wanting the role. I think Mrs. Elder is more in it for to use her skills and abilities and leadership to improve first shift. And organizations look for higher levels of employee engagement to increase productivity and enhance culture, according to an article by Judy Bullock. So I think Mrs. Elder again, or Mrs. Younger, possesses those skills and can increase productivity and enhance the culture. And a line leader is meant to take the stress and the extra work off the supervisors to make their jobs easier. And that's why we have team leaders, is to get the supplies they need or to take the extra stress off supervisors. And if Mr. Elder isn't doing that role properly, and it's actually putting more stress on the supervisors instead of taking it away. So I think that's why, again, Mrs. Younger would be more fit for this position. And an article by Massey and Campbell talks about how many new employees come equipped with KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. needed to start. Other employees require extensive training before they can begin making contributions to the company. Training can result in increased workers' competence and motivation. Mrs. Younger, I think, possesses those what they talk about KSAs, and she can begin that leadership role right off the bat, where Mr. Elder would have to work hard and go to more training to develop some of those things. So let's go to our next slide here. Let's talk about documentation. So I was a supervisor of a correctional facility for 4 years. We had a union there, and documentation was very important. And even with your conference notes, meeting with employees about what they're doing, what they do better, or what they're doing wrong. Even though it might not seem important, you want to document those things in case you need them for future uses. According to an article by Elizabeth Payne, documentation reduces litigation risk, which we could also say that this is true for any future union grievances. It does take more time to document meeting notes, interviews, and so on. However, grievances, it's easier to go back and look at notes and have actual physical evidence, so we can take that to union grievances and so forth. So I'm guessing that these interviews were notes were taken down. The same questions were being asked by both of those, so we could tell the union how we could handle the situation. Is we could tell the union we're going to look back on our union notes or interview notes, and we'll reconsider, and go back and say, Mrs. Younger is more qualified for the position than Mr. Elder because of this, this, and this. So those are important. So let's go to our next slide. So these are steps of typical grievance procedure. I got these from my Human Resource Management textbook. As you go down the line, you're going to have more expenses. Number 5, arbitration, third party. You're obviously going to have more expenses there because of lawyers and so forth. But I think we can stop at number 2 and stop right there with the meeting between union stewards and supervisors and tell them our decision. Let's go to the next slide. With the union, we already said about seniority doesn't always take precedence. And this is true with the interview positions. In the selection process, Mrs. Younger possesses all the qualifications that were listed in the post. Let's go to the next slide. So employee development. So according to Mike Emmett's article, leadership, culture, and communication should clearly be major areas of focus if engagement is become embedded in organization. I believe Mrs. Younger, again, possesses those. So what Mr. Elder should work on, once I issued my final decision to the union, I would meet with Mr. Elder and his supervisor. I would explain to him that Younger has chosen because of her interpersonal skills, commitment to the company, and has more initiative. I also told Mr. Elder if he wanted another line leader position, they should work on those areas. I think that would give closure to both sides, and that would, moving forward, I think that would kind of clear the air between management and Mr. Elder and the union. I think that would be a good way to end that. Let's go to our next slide. So a view of the case. So we had two applicants for the position, Mr. Elder and Mrs. Younger. I think Mrs. Younger showed that she possessed what we talked about, the KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities, more than Mr. Elder. How would I approach a grievance? Like I said, I would tell them I would review the interview notes, and that way, I would show that I had good faith in that. And many issues that arose were seniority, and seniority doesn't play part in interview positions, only typically in the bid positions. And teachable moments. We always talk about teachable moments where I worked at, and I think it's for Mr. Elder. He can work on those areas if he wants another team leader job. So I thank you for your attention in this matter, and that ends my presentation. Thank you.